You know, when you grab a piece of fruit, maybe a bright red strawberry or a plump blueberry, and you think, wow, this looks absolutely perfect. The color's amazing, right? But then you take a bite, and it's just, well, a bit flat. That real burst of flavor, that perfect sweetness with a bit of tartness, it's just missing. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What really makes fruit ripe? Is it just about how it looks, or is there something more going on? Well, today on the deep dive, that's exactly what we're getting into. We're exploring the world of black currant harvesting and home gardening and our guides. Two young lads, Kesser and Steen, having a bit of a summer adventure in their Aunt Green's garden. We've been looking into some sources focused just on black currant, and honestly, we found some really practical stuff, some surprising facts about fruit maturity, and just timeless wisdom about gardening, all stuff we think you'll find useful. Our mission today is basically to help you understand how to get the best flavor, the best fruit, whether you pick it yourself or, buy it.
Exactly. And it's not just about the simple act of picking berries off a bush. It's more about understanding the subtle signals that nature sends out. Signals that, frankly, most of us miss in our busy lives. Kesser and Steen's story, it really highlights how these simple garden tasks done thoughtfully can give you amazing results. Not just tasty fruit, but a real connection to where our food comes from. We'll see how their work in Aunt Green's unsprayed kitchen garden teaches them and us about the careful process of growing and harvesting.
Okay, so let's picture this. Kesser and Steen's summer holidays have just started, but no lounging around for them. Their Aunt Green needs help. She's seen her black currants change color, and for her, that means go time. They're ripe. It's kind of urgent, too, because, well, if they don't get picked now, the birds will definitely have a feast.
Right, and this is where things get interesting, where we start looking beyond just what we think we know. That color change Aunt Green noticed, it's definitely a sign, a common one. But it's often just, well, one part of the story of fruit maturity. What we're really interested in is something called physiological maturity. That's the point where the fruit is fully developed. Not just size or color, but crucially, flavor, sweetness, aroma, nutrients. The whole package.
Okay.
So Kesser and Steen, they're not just there to pick whatever looks dark. Their job is to check out the whole situation in Aunt Green's garden. Figure out what's truly ready to harvest, but also what needs pruning for the bush's future health. It's a bigger picture view.
Exactly. So Kesser gets to the garden gate, and Steen's already there, sleeves rolled up, looking ready to go. Quick hello, and then straight into the black currant rows. They're looking beyond just the dark color. They're trying to spot those deeper signs of ripeness, the real deal. They know Aunt Green's garden is all about learning by doing. Because let's face it, we all kind of think color is everything, right? We've all done it. Grab the brightest apple, the reddest tomato, only to find it's mealy or hard or just bland. Our eyes trick us, I guess. Supermarkets don't help either.
And that disappointment, it comes from not quite getting what maturity really involves. Maturity has a huge impact on taste, that perfect mix of sweet and fresh. For lots of fruits, like black currants, what happens during ripening is this amazing biochemical change. The acidity, the tartness literally turns into sugar. It's not just adding sweetness, it's building complex flavors, aromas.
Oh.
If you pick too soon, you miss all that development.
Okay, here's something from the sources that really jumped out at me, maybe because it seems so obvious once you hear it. When the birds start eating your fruit, that's a major clue it's time to start picking. Like, the birds are the real experts here. What's that about?
They absolutely are. Birds have, evolved to find fruit at its peak. That's when it's most nutritious for them. And importantly, when the seeds inside are ready to be spread.
Makes sense.
So yeah, if you see the local birds having a party in your berry bushes, take it as nature's little alarm clock. Harvest time. But it is just one sign. Our sources mention several other clues that are really key to understanding ripeness, especially if you want that perfect picking moment.
And what are those other signs, besides, happy bird noises?
Well, a classic one is how easily the stem releases the fruit. You give it a gentle tug, and if it pops off easily, it's probably ready. Though I should add, that's maybe less true for industrial harvesting. They often pick things a bit firmer because the fruit needs to survive, being shipped long distances. It can't be too soft or it just turns to mush. Then there's the seed color. For black currants, you'd see the seeds go from, say, pale green towards a chestnut, then brown color as it gets fully ripe. You can also sometimes tell by how the skin feels, how easily it might separate from the pulp inside, or even just the color of the flesh itself if you bite into one or cut it. These internal signs, they tell you way more than just the outside skin color. It's like a whole collection of changes happening together. And if you're thinking about making jam, The pectin level is also super important for getting it to set, and that changes with ripeness too.
Which brings up such an interesting point for you listening. You might not even realize how much better fruit can actually taste compared to what you usually get at the store.
Yeah.
So often, that shop-bought fruit is picked for shelf life, for transport, not for peak flavor. It's like tasting two totally different things. Even if it's the same type of berry, it really changes your perspective once you know what to look for. And speaking of jam, that takes us nicely to pectin, right? The sort of magic ingredient for getting jam to set. We usually just think of it as, that powder you buy at the grocery store. Just another ingredient.
Yeah, that's how most people see it. But nature gives us some amazing sources of pectin already. Gooseberries, sometimes called sticklebear, they're packed with natural pectin. Apples, too. And this connects to the wisdom of Oma mentioned in our sources. A grandmother figure, seems like. She had this brilliant trick of mixing apples or gooseberries with black currants for jam.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Because pure black currant jam, it's intense, really strong, sharp flavor. It's often something adults prefer, maybe just a thin layer on toast. It's not like those super sweet, gloopy jams you might be used to. Oma knew how to balance those powerful natural flavors.
And here's something about Oma's method that really caught my eye. Apparently, she often doesn't add any sugar to her jams, which is totally different from commercial jam rolls, right? They usually have strict fruit-to-sugar ratios. It's a whole other way of thinking.
It absolutely is. Sugar does help with setting, and it acts as a preservative, sure. Boiling down the fruit also reduces water and concentrates things. But Oma's way seems to lean more on the fruit's own qualities and just very careful cooking. And she was apparently careful not to boil it for too long.
Why is that?
Because too much heat actually destroys the natural pectin in the fruit. If that happens, your jam won't set properly on its own. It becomes less natural, and you might need more added stuff or have to boil it longer, which can kill the fresh taste and some nutrients. Oma's method sounds like it was all about capturing the real essence of the fruit.
Now, a lot of us hear sugar and get a bit concerned. Even natural fruit sugars like glucose and fructose, we're told to cut back.
That's a fair point, but context is key here.
Yeah.
For most people with a healthy gut, a piece of fruit is absolutely fine. Your gut microbiome, all those bacteria, they can generally handle the, say, 4 or 5 grams of fructose in an apple or a handful of berries without issue. And while, yes, sugar is sugar chemically, there's a huge difference between the sugar in a whole piece of fruit, which comes bundled with fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all that good stuff.
Right.
And the refined sugar you get from a bag, which is basically just the sugar stripped of everything else during processing from, say, sugar beet or cane. Eating fruit is getting the whole package deal.
Totally. And the benefits are huge, especially if you're lucky enough to pick that sweet fruit right outside your kitchen window. You're getting vitamins, minerals, antioxidants all working together. Processed sugar just can't compare.
Right.
Okay, back to Kesser and Steen. As they start picking those first black currants, Steen notices something. He points out how much easier it is to pick the berries growing in looser, smaller clusters, compared to the ones that are all bunched up tightly. Less messy, easier to grab, just, well, nicer to handle.
And Steen's observation. That directly connects back to Oma's pruning system, which it sounds like Kesser really understood well. It shows how that kind of regular, thoughtful maintenance, the pruning, doesn't just help the plant grow better. It actually makes harvesting easier and improves the fruit quality down the line.
So pruning isn't just chopping bits off.
Not at all. It's about shaping the bush, letting light and air in, preventing overcrowding. And like Steen noticed, making it easier to get to the berries later. Overcrowding can lead to smaller berries, less flavor, even disease.
And Kesser, who clearly knows Oma's system, he immediately suggests something. He says they should cut off some of the older, thicker branches right then and there, even before they finish picking everything, and take them into the shade to, quote, skin them. Sounds a bit odd, but it's obviously part of their routine.
Yes, and skinning the branches, just to clarify for you, likely means stripping off the leaves and maybe smaller side shoots from those cut branches. Why? To prepare them as cuttings for propagation, basically, making new plants from the old branches. Genius. But the immediate benefit of cutting those old branches while picking is super practical. Firstly, you don't have to pick every single berry that day. By thinning out the bush, especially the older, less productive wood, the energy goes to the remaining fruit. So those berries get bigger, ripen better, and become even easier to pick later. Plus, it keeps the bush from getting too dense and stressed. Healthier plant overall.
And the payoff down the road is pretty big, it sounds like. Over time, bushes pruned like this give you better harvests, bigger berries, cleaner berries more consistently. It's like you're investing in future fruit, making the whole thing more efficient and rewarding year after year, teaching the bush almost.
And here's the really neat part that really shows Oma's smart, efficient approach. You can take those cuttings for new plants at the same time you're doing the pruning.
Oh, multitasking.
Exactly. You're improving the existing bush's health and yield, and you're creating new plants to expand your garden or share, all in one go. It's a really elegant, sustainable cycle.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for you listening in? We've gone from just looking at fruit color to understanding physiological maturity. We've heard some of Oma's kitchen wisdom about jam and sugar and seen the smarts behind pruning and propagation through Kessler and Steen's work. It really drives home that knowing where your food comes from, how it grows, it's a really rich, layered thing.
It really does. It hopefully encourages us all to think a bit more deeply about these natural processes. How fruit ripens, how plants need care. It can genuinely improve our relationship with food and maybe even our garden if we have one. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What small changes could you make? Maybe just observe more closely or ask different questions next time you're buying fruit, or perhaps even try growing something simple yourself.
Yeah, think about that. Knowing what truly ripe fruit tastes like, or understanding why thinning out a bush helps, it could completely change how you look at a berry patch, or even just the fruit section at the supermarket. It's about having that deeper knowledge, going beyond just the surface look of things. If you found this deep dive into black currants and garden wisdom interesting, please do subscribe to the Deep Dive wherever you get your podcasts. We're here digging into fascinating topics, aiming to help you become well-informed, one nugget of knowledge at a time.